You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Well, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show. We're always excited to be here with you every Friday. This is Friday, September the 19th, and we are happy to be here with you. No, it's Friday the 20th, and we're happy to be here with you this Friday. We are going to have a special talk the second half of our show. It's going to be motivational talk done by yours truly, and it's called Follow the Yellow Brick Road. So just hang in there. I like to let you all listen to that every so often. Whenever I guess that I couldn't find my guest today, so I just decided I wasn't going to call anybody else. I want you to hear Follow the Yellow Brick Road. All right, so we're going to go now to our first guest, Dr. Julianne Malveaux. Always happy to be here on Spirit 1340 WYCB. She talks politics for us. She's a PhD scholar that travels all over the world and speaks, and I love Dr. Julianne Malveaux. She's also the president of Bennett College. She did a lot of fundraising when she was there, and they named a building after her. So it's the Dr. Julianne Malveaux School of Communications, I believe. So we are so happy about the work that she has done over the years. And she was a dean out in California at Cal State Los Angeles, and working with Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, just on and on and on. And I'm trying to help her. So I want you to know this is the Dr. Julianne Malveaux. Dr. Malveaux, what you got for us today?
Well, Lyndia, first of all, congratulations on your work and the Yellow Brick Road. I'm going to have to get on and listen to that. That sounds really great to listen to. Follow the Yellow Brick Road. And we always need some inspiration, and you often provide amazing inspiration with your spiritual work, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, this week, there was a second attempt at a former President Donald Trump's life. Maybe. I always say maybe because you never know with him.
I believe the same thing, Dr. J. Maybe.
I mean, the person was an itinerant who essentially, how can we put it? He was an itinerant person who was a pro-Trumper at one point. Now maybe he isn't, and maybe we don't know. Mm-hmm. But he was hiding in the bushes for 12 hours outside a Trump golf course, and he never shot, actually. He had a gun, but he never shot. Secret Service shot at him, and he fled. So we don't have the whole story, but it is a headline. It's an important headline to see this fellow see what happened. Of course, J.D. Vance said that it was because of Kamala and Biden that this took place. There's no evidence of that whatsoever. And they still haven't found him, which raises a whole bunch of questions. If there's Secret Service protection, how did this occur? But it's making headlines all over the place. Both President Biden and Vice President Harris have made very, helpful statements that political violence has no place in our country, which I think we all agree with. So that's not a problem. But they want to continue to blame it on them, which is a problem. In fact, J.D. Vance said, why has nobody tried to kill Kamala? That, to me, is an invitation and provocation.
Exactly.
And it's inappropriate. But we don't expect anything better from J.D. Vance. He's a horrible human being who basically, all of his comments are off the chain. All. I mean, the dogs and cats and Haitians. And then he said, well, if I had to lie to bring attention to the situation, then I did. So we know exactly what it is, and we're not falling for it. It is a problem, however. It is a problem because what Mr. Trump has now done is place himself back in the center of a news cycle, which is what he ought to do. He is so angry that Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, is getting more attention than he is. And so what he is doing is, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's unacceptable, and don't believe the hype, people. Just don't believe the hype. Number two, ballots for North Carolina are going out this week. And they're already talking, the absentee ballots, they're already talking about voter suppression, about having to have ID, having to have other information. There's nothing wrong with having ID. Of course, you have to be identified as a voter. But what we know is that voter suppression is alive and well. It's alive and well. And these early ballots going out in North Carolina, many of them are likely not to be counted. North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Florida now. Florida is in play. In all these places, we got to look at the laws and the rules. And we look at these laws and rules, what we're finding is that there is a likelihood that ballots will not be counted. And this is a problem. All these states are so close. Last time, Georgia was decided with 11,000 votes. Pennsylvania with under 70,000. This is a percentage point. And so I want to shout out Barbara Arnwine and the Transformative Justice Coalition. I want to shout out the folks at the NAACP. I want to shout out the people who are doing this work to say, no, you will not suppress our vote. But unfortunately, it is happening. Votes are being suppressed. Puffy Combs, Sean Puffy Combs, has been arrested, and he's been denied bail, which means he will spend time in jail. This is Tuesday as we're recording, so there may be developments as the week goes on. But what we do know with Mr. Combs is he's being accused of sex trafficking, among other things. It's such an icon to fall so low, and we have to ask, what's race got to do with it? What do so many things have to do with it? But basically, he has been arrested. He's been denied bail as of Tuesday. His lawyers are fighting. They say that he has multiple residences and a private plane, so he doesn't need a passport. I'm just sad about this. That's all I can say. I'm sad about it. I'm sure you are too.
Yes.
It's just one of these situations where someone who was an icon has fallen, and we have to figure out why. Now, in the Middle East, Israel has put explosives in pagers that were purchased from Japan. And these pagers have all exploded. 11 people have been killed. While they're not on the ground, they are definitely escalating. They're definitely escalating. And this is not turning out right. It's not turning out right for the United States because at some point we're going to have to be involved. We don't need to be in another war, but we're likely to be in one given everything that is going on. Meanwhile, back at home, we have people, especially in Michigan, who are saying they will not vote for Harris because of the escalation from Israel, the fact that the United States, frankly, has sided with Israel to the detriment of Palestinians. So we're looking at a situation that doesn't seem to be resolved. President Biden said he could resolve this, and he has not. And so, and I don't know how he could, frankly. I can't figure it out. I think that Israel has been a bully throughout, but certainly the October 7th attack a month ago was heinous, and so I don't know where we go from here. But I certainly think, and the President Biden has lost, what can I say? He's lost stature because he is not the president-elect. He's a president, and he has no gravitas. And so given that, no gravitas, no dog in this fight, given that, we're going to see a situation that is going to devolve unless something very major happens. Netanyahu is not willing or able to do anything useful. We know that. So here we are. Explosives in cell phones, 11 people killed, a situation that continues to simmer. And our country tried to straddle both sides. President nominee Harris says Israel has a right to defend itself, but Palestine has a right to exist. All right, help me out with that.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's two sides. They're saying two different things. And I don't know how we roll it back, but I know that if it goes forward, the United States is likely to be in a wartime situation. And frankly, nobody wants us to be in a wartime situation. Okay, so that's that. Let's talk a little bit about abortion and about reproductive rights. The Senate has blocked IVF protection. That's how can I put it? Well, it's the ability to have in vitro birth, and they are protecting. They're saying no, this can't happen. Tammy Duckworth, senator from Wisconsin, I believe. Anyway, Tammy Duckworth had a child through IVF, and she says she wants to protect it. Others are saying, I'm not so sure. This becomes a problem. Again, it's denying people their right to reproductive freedoms, and again, the Republicans are saying, no, we're not going along with that. They just need to get out of people's bodies. They need to get out of women's bodies, and they're not trying to do that. Now let's go to Springfield, Illinois, where a young man killed 4 people, 2 students, 2 teachers. His dad has been arrested. But why are guns? So it's Ohio, not Illinois. Forgive me. Why are guns so that we have more guns in these United States than we have people?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can have a gun, but half of us don't have guns. What does that mean? It means that the rest, some people, 2 and 3 guns. This situation is out of control, and it's going to get worse unless something is done about it. Republicans do not want to restrict gun ownership, and they don't want to restrict gun ownership, but you see these young people, you don't have a whole brain when you're 14 years old. You just really don't. Your frontal lobe is not developed until you're in your early 20s. So you're making irrational decisions. And what we have here in Springfield is a horrible situation that J.D. Vance has lied about.
Yeah,
and he said, well, I'll lie if I want to, and if I need to bring attention to this situation. Well, the attention is that 4 people are dead, J.D. I would say something, but on your show, but you know what I mean. Shut the you-know-what up. This is absurd. Now, we're going to, before we conclude, and I know I'm running on my time, we're going to Tyree Nichols in Memphis, where one police officer has said they beat the you-know-what out of that man for no reason. He got out of his car and ran. They did not have to beat him. They beat him to death, really. He was a 29-year-old FedEx worker. They said they were beating him. They call it the run tax. If you run away from the police, they're going to get you. They punched him. They kicked him. They did whatever they could to him because they could. They lied in the police report. They said that he went for one of their guns. He did not. And this police officer is now saying he pled guilty. He'll probably get 15 years. And he's saying this is just wrong. So this is yet another example of how the police treat, and these are black policemen too, by the way.
I know, I saw it.
How they treat black men. Yet again. Lyndia, I could go on and on, but I hear your music, which means it's time to stop. So thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. Again, let's think about whether or not it's true or false, the Trump assassination. Let's think about voter suppression. Let's think about the Middle East and Israel's aggressive role, about Puffy Combs, and let's think about Tyree Nichols. And when we think about him, let's say a prayer.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Julianne. We'll talk to you again next week. We're going to go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington Informer religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired." But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it, be inspired.
Today, you'll get a chance to purchase my tape from my message, and the title of it is Follow the Yellow Brick Road and Believe in Yourself. I'd like to suggest that you play this tape whenever you feel yourself off course. Play it in your car, play it at home. Think about this message. Follow the yellow brick road and believe in yourself. Now let me set the stage and give you some facts. When this movie was made, The Wizard of Oz was back during the Great Depression here in America in 1939, and it took place in Kansas, and it was made in black and white at the beginning of the movie. People were looking for a place to escape. They were looking for a better day. It was really bad during that time. They were suffering. Unemployment was up to 25%. President Herbert Hoover had done a poor job, and people blamed him for all of the bad things that were going on. And so President Roosevelt got elected, and he was the saving grace. And President Roosevelt was the first president to set up Social Security. The stock market crashed in 1929, and it took 32 years to get it back up again to its normal rate. 11,000 banks closed. Shanty towns crept up all across America as families lived in cars, and they had packing crates that they were sleeping in. And they called these little towns Hooverville. They named it Hooverville because they were blaming Herbert Hoover. So as they stood in lines for soup kitchens, today we see foreclosure signs, and we're going through similar situations. Now let me give you some facts about the movie. If you don't watch the movie with this information in mind, you'll miss the whole point of Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Yellow Brick Road is a metaphor for your dream and your goal and how you get on that road and you keep going. In the movie, Dorothy's house landed on the Wicked Witch of the West, and it landed in Munchkin land. Munchkins were dressed like little dolls, toy people. They celebrated. They were so delighted that Dorothy had gotten rid of their greatest fear, the Wicked Witch of the West. in that celebration, they yelled, they sang, they danced. Ding dong, the witch is dead. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead. They were excited. Dorothy only wanted to go home. She didn't care that she had killed the wicked witch. As a matter of fact, she wondered, did she do something wrong? Until Glinda the Good Witch came and said, you can go home by going to see the Wizard of Oz. Because that's all Dorothy seemed to talk about. And Dorothy said, well, how will I get home? She said, follow the yellow brick road. Munchkins sang and danced and showed Dorothy the way. As she skipped and hopped down the yellow brick road, they kept singing, follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road. And so finally, as Dorothy kept going on her journey, she said bye to the Munchkins. And along the way, she met 3 friends. Scarecrow, who needed a brain. Tin Man, who needed a heart. And the Cowardly Lion, who needed some courage. Now, as they skipped along, they would always get afraid because she didn't have 3 friends that were courageous. So they sang and skipped together, lions and tigers and bears. And they were afraid. So then they finally made it through the forest and they reached the Emerald City. And as they reached the Emerald City, you can hear a choir in the background singing, you're out of the woods, you're out of the dark, you're out of the night. Step into the sun, step into the light. And they're excited because the castle is in front of them. They're almost there. Everybody's excited. If you're watching the movie, you feel so good because now they see the castle in Emerald Isle. But suddenly something happens really bad. An evil spell comes down over them. The wicked witch is back again. But Glinda the Good Witch does her magic all over again, and they make it to the castle, only to find that the Wizard of Oz is just another man. They are all so sad, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion. But Glinda tells all of them that you already had everything that you need inside of yourself. Dorothy, all you have to do is believe. Inside of you, all you have to do is click your heels together 3 times and you'll be home. Just believe. So they all had everything they needed. And you do too. The main point of this movie, we all have the ability to get what we want. And this power comes from within. Others may come alongside of us to offer some moral support, but ultimately, it's up to each of us. The yellow brick road, your dream or your goal, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Lion, well, they're metaphors for our emotions. The Scarecrow needed a brain. Well, we need our mind to think. The Tin Man needed a heart. We have to have our heart so we can love others. And the Lion, the Cowardly Lion, didn't have any courage. If you decide you want to go forth with your dream, you have to be brave. And you too have to have courage. So it was as if these 3 emotions were running along with Dorothy. They were not really real. It was her mind, her heart, and her courage. She went by herself, but it was as if her 3 imaginary friends came to life to give her support. So the first thing you have to do is have a purpose. Dorothy's goal was to get back home to Kansas. She was determined to get to see the Wizard of Oz. What is your goal? Do you know where you're going and why you want to get this done? She wanted to go home to see Annie M. So take charge of your emotions. Feed your brain by studying and learning. You must have a kind heart. Napoleon Hill discovered this in his study. He said, remember this. Repeat it daily. He said, tell yourself, I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism, and develop love for all humanity. For I know that a negative attitude toward others can never bring me success. So you definitely have to be kind. You have to have a good heart. You need to have a gentle heart, a loving heart. And finally, you certainly need courage. You cannot be cowardly about what it is you want to do. You have to just move forward even if you're shaking in your shoes and if you're afraid like the Cowardly Lion. If you believe within your heart, you'll know. So what's holding you back? Begin your trip on your own yellow brick road toward your goal. Are you afraid, a coward like the Cowardly Lion? Or is it that you don't have a heart to do it, like the Tin Man? Is it that you feel you're not smart enough to do it, like the Scarecrow? Now for my message. Aim, attitude, and action. Point 1 is aim. Aim is your goal. It's what you want to do. The definition of aim is to direct toward or intend for a particular goal. Earl Nightingale had this quote to say. He said, "People with goals succeed because they know where they're going." So that's your yellow brick road. You can't get on your yellow brick road headed anywhere if you don't have a direction that you're going and a purpose for what it is you're going to do when you get there. Zig Ziglar had a quote, but I like the way Les Brown rephrased it. He said, "If you aim at nothing, you will end up hitting it dead on the head every time." And Scripture reminds us, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And if we can do all things, then why wouldn't we try? We should never think that our goal is impossible or that it's too big of a dream. So think about it. What is it that you want to do? What gives your life a sense of joy? What gives you hope? What do you love doing? In fact, you love doing it so much you'll do it for free. It brings a smile to your face. I remember when I got on my yellow brick road, when the first day that I started my business more than 25 years ago, I was living in West Covina, California, going on a job interview, had been reading Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich book. And if you all don't know, that's a book Napoleon Hill researched 20 years to try to find out what makes one man successful and another one not. And it came up with a formula, but it's based on how we think. I was on a job interview at an agency, and the agency sends us out for job interviews, so you have to do a great job for the agency as well, because if you don't, you might not get sent out in the interviews because they made their commission if you were a good candidate. There was a lady sitting beside me, and she was like the cowardly lion. She hadn't worked in so many years, and I needed to encourage her because she started to talk to me, and I felt so bad for her. I wanted her to feel better about it. And I took her resume and asked her things that she must have done and reminded her of jobs that she must have done while she had her job. And she was so encouraged and thankful. And she went in and she did her interview, and she did a great job. And the receptionist saw me do that and said to me, "Have you ever thought about starting your own business?" You were so good with her. She was my guardian angel that day. So you can hear something and not listen. But I heard what she said, and immediately I got myself started on my own yellow brick road, and I stayed on it until my dream became a reality, and you can do it too. What do you do at the fork in the road? Do you guess and take a chance? You will surely know, because like the geese, when they're flying south every year, you'll have a built-in instinct when you know what it is you're trying to do. You'll have an inner knowing, your very own built-in GPS system. So feel good about your decision. You can't have doubt in your head. The scripture reminds us that we can move mountains if we have faith the size of a mustard seed, but we shall not doubt. Keep looking toward your future. Keep your mind on your goals in your future, and keep going past the no's until you find someone to say yes. Show lots of love like the Tin Man, be brave like the lion, and increase your knowledge base with your brain like the scarecrow. Don't want the same results in your life? Then don't tell that negative story. If you want your goal to become a reality, then tell your new story and give life to your dreams. Follow the yellow brick road if you believe.
Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect, so be careful what you send out. Scripture says, "My people perish for the lack of knowledge." So think on these things. From the Lyndia Grant Show, I'm your host, Lyndia Grant. Until next week, good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.